Absolutely not. I think there's a false narrative here, and I think people have been trying to portray Brexit as something that's nasty, something that if you want to leave the European Union, that you're somehow a racist or a xenophobe or a bigot, and that's gone on before the referendum, it's continued after the referendum, and leaving the European Union, Brexit has got absolutely nothing to do with racism. Now, this man, Fergus Wilson, obviously what he said is absolutely reprehensible. I mean, it is racial discrimination, and there's no way that that should be condoned, it should be condemned. Absolutely. So, you know, the courts are working as they should do. Here's someone who's done something wrong, he's broken the law in regard to this. But the sort of narrative that there's a spike in hate crime, there's a spike in online reported hate crime through the True Visions portal. But what we see is that fewer than a third of those reported hate crimes have actually led to any prosecution, and fewer than a quarter of them have actually led to a conviction. So I think there is a false narrative here, and we've got to be careful about how we define hate crime, and we don't just say that it's subjective, it's reported.
I mean, I'm not saying that Brexit is inherently racist. I'm an anarchist, right? I have a healthy mistrust.
These are specific cases which have been brought before law. You've had an investigation. But it doesn't reflect on 99.99% of the population who find these kind of things abhorrent. And ethnic minority people, you've got to look at it as not just one group and bulk of people. You have, you know, certain groups of people, Chinese, who are doing very, very well in their school exam results and in getting jobs. We also have different groups of white people, and white working class people have very, very much lower outcomes in education and in employment and in overall earnings. Yeah, in unemployment than other people who may have lived in different areas and are from different socio-economic classes. So you can't just say that, you know, all white people are doing well, all black and Asian ethnic minority people, you know, are suffering from institutional racism, because there are different groups among these different larger classifications. What I would say about the Macpherson report, which does worry me, is the definition of hate crime, which is what we originally started talking about here, is very, very subjective, in that you can say something is hate crime just because you feel offended. It's not got any objective criteria. And I think if we're going to go down... What
criteria would you use?
Well, I would actually have some objective criteria that would... Well, as I said before, that you have... people report hate crimes, and then it has to go before a court of law and before a jury, and then they would have to, you know, see like this man, Fergus Wilson, who actually said something that is actually racist. But look, we had the case earlier this year of Amber Rudd, the Home Secretary, who was reported for a hate crime merely for talking about her immigration policy, the government's immigration policy at the Conservative Party conference. I'm not a Conservative, but it was a kind of ridiculous thing where you had an Oxford professor saw what she said online, didn't even hear what she said, and reported her for a hate crime. So you have these kind of things that are utterly ridiculous. Well, I think Brexit is going to do that. We're coming out of the European Union, and the slogan that we always use, one of the slogans, is out of Europe into the world, well, out of the EU into the world. We're not leaving Europe as such.
Brexit, or Brexit, or
that's what Theresa May would say, but out of the EU and into the world. And I think at the moment this is a very, very positive moment in our history as a country, where we're actually becoming an independent nation again and looking to make trade deals with all people all around the world, all countries around the world. And, you know, we do need to get immigration back into balance. And I think what's happened before, this is one of the arguments for Brexit, is that people are, you know, have equated saying that with somehow people are racist or xenophobic or bigoted. That's absolutely wrong. And I think we don't need to have guilt about what's happened in the 60s or beforehand. We need to look to the future. We need to say that everybody who is here working here is welcome. We do need to have immigration in balance, but we don't need to beat ourselves over the head, beat ourselves over the back, but we do need to tackle racism where it occurs, where there is an incitement to violence. That's something that's absolutely objective. This is really an attempt to rewrite history. I mean, Winston Churchill was the greatest hero that this country has ever known.
I'm not sure everybody would agree with you, but
well, he did. He fought the Nazis, he fought Hitler, and he defeated Hitler and the Nazis.
He also argued strongly in favour of using poison gas against uncivilized tribes.
Without Winston Churchill, Europe would have been taken over by Nazi Germany. Freedom would have been lost all over Europe.
Not sure where we're going with this, guys. We've rather gone off message.
Well, I mean, we have gone off a little bit, but you did bring up Winston Churchill, and I do need to defend Winston Churchill as the person who fought for freedom and saved freedom in Europe, you know, just to say that. But, you know, I do think that we have moved on from, you say, the colonial era. I mean, it was before I was born, when Britain lost most of her colonies in the 50s and 60s. You know, and I think other countries like Malaysia, Malaysia and so on have moved on very, very much very much as well. So what we need to do at the moment is be positive, say that, you know, everyone is welcome in this country. If you have something to contribute to this country, we need to get immigration into balance, but we need to stop having a subjective view of racism and hate crime. Yes, we do need to tackle it where it does exist, and there are some people like Fergus Wilson who have said dreadful things. It's shocking that there are still people around in this year who still have that attitude, but 99.9% of people in this country are also shocked by that from whatever ethnic group we have, and really I think this is a fantastic country to be in.
You ended a great